Hi, my name is Eduardo, and I'm going to present the transformation of the last 3 decades. On the 9th of November 1989, a- amidst a series of peaceful protests, the Eastern German government officially announced that the citizens of Berlin could travel between the East and West without any major problems. In March of 1999, free elections were held in Eastern Europe for the first time since its inception. The old communist regime, the Social Democratic Party, lost the elections in a landslide, giving way to a new government headed by Lothar de Maizière, who immediately began discussions with Eastern Germany to begin a reunification process. This objective was consummated at midnight on the 3rd of October, when the Federal Germany Republic Eastern was legally and peacefully annexed to the Federal German Republic of the West. The Persian Gulf War. The conflict originated when Saddam Hussein, president and dictator of Iraq, decided to invade its neighbor Kuwait in the unilateral fashion. Hussein continued on the invasion in spite of sanctions. NATO approved a military operation that consists of 34 countries led by the United States of America to free Kuwait and expulse the occupying troops. The coalition troops began the counteroffensive on January 16, 1991 with a large arm and infantry campaign. With the intervention of the coalition, Iraqi troops quickly began their retreat, losing one decisive battle after another. It was on February 28, 1991 when Iraq finally recognized defeat, leaving Kuwait free of its invader. In the ensuing years, Iraq was forced to face economic sanctions and a weakening in external relations with the rest of the world. Disintegration of the Soviet Union. In 1990, the three Baltic republics, Estonia, Lithuania, and Lithuania, unilaterally declared their independence from the Soviet Union, setting a precedent for the rest of the Soviet Republic states. Desperate and feeling boxed in, Gorbachev tried to put a halt to the inevitable by deploying the military. Boris Yeltsin was the last president of the United Soviet Socialist Republic of Russia, which at that time was one of the political entities that took part in the Soviet Union, and he played a very important role in the dissolution of the USSR. Using his influence, he orchestrated a series of political setbacks to diminish and virtually disappear whatever power Gorbachev had left. The most important of these movements was the founding and promotion of the Commonwealth of Independent States, a new political association that had as its principal means the gathering of the republic nations that left the Soviet Union in order to establish an economic alliance. On December 21 of 1991, the leaders of 11 of the 15 Soviet republics met in Alta Kastan, where they finally normalized and ratified the creation of the Commonwealth of Independent States, officially recognizing the dissolution of the Soviet Union. 4 days later, December 25, Mikhail Gorbachev symbolically signed his resignation as leader of a political entity that virtually had ceased to exist. That same evening, the red Soviet flag was flown for the last time on the mast over the Kremlin of Moscow, being replaced by the tricolor Russian flag. Internet for Worldwide 1993. 25 years ago today, the World Wide Web announced that it was for everybody. On April 30 of 1993, the European Organization of Nuclear Research put the web into the public domain, a decision that has fundamentally altered the past quarter centuries and evolution the way we communicate each other. Terrorist attacks of September 11. 19 million associated with the Islamic extremist group Al Qaeda hijacked four airplanes and carried out suicides against targets in the United States. Two of the planes were flown in the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. A third plane hit the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C., and the fourth plane crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Almost 3,000 people were killed during the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Mars Pathfinder 2001. Mars Pathfinder was launched on December 4 of 1996 and landed on Mars Ares Vallis on July 4 of 1997. It was designed as a technology demonstration of a new way to deliver an instrumented lander and the first ever robotic rover to the surface of the red planet. This robot started his odyssey in 2001, so it can explore the whole planet. This is important because it was an advance of technology and futurist robots. 2011 to present. The Syrian civil war is an armed conflict that began in Syria after the anti-government protest of 2011. These protests led to clashes between the country's armed forces and the Syrian opposition, which includes several terrorist groups. Later, it turned into an international conflict between several countries, including the two largest nuclear powers, as well as other regional ones. Verdicts 2016. In mid-2016, amid a mass refugee crisis in Europe and furious debate over migration, Britons voted roughly 52 to 48% in favor of the United Kingdom's withdrawal from the European Union, also known as Brexit. The deadline of withdrawal was extended several times, as Parliament's steadfast opposition to a proposed deal led to Prime Minister Theresa May's resignation in mid-2019. Through many May's successors, Boris Johnson initially planned to force an exit. With or without a deal, opposition to this plan forced him to seek yet another extension, pushing the continuous issue into the next decade. Simone Biles becomes the most decorated gymnast in history. 2016. At the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, setting a US record for most gold medals in women's gymnastics at a single games. To close out the decade, Biles won 5 gold medals at the World Championships held in October 2009, bringing her total to 25 world medals and 19 gold, the most of any gymnastic, male or female, in history. The novel virus was first identified in the Chinese city of Wuhan in December 2019. A lockdown in Wuhan and other cities in surrounding Hubei failed to contain the outbreak, and it quickly spread to other parts of mainland China and around the world. The World Health Organization declared a public health emergency of international concern on 30 January 2020, and a pandemic on 11 March of 2020. Multiple variants of the virus have emerged and become dominant in many countries since 2020, with the alpha, beta, gamma, and delta variants being the most virulent. As of 27 November 2021, more than 260 million cases and 5.18 million deaths has been confirmed, making the pandemic one of the deadliest in history. Now I'm gonna give you some terms that will be useful. So, what is globalization? Well, it is an economic, technological, political, social, and cultural process on a global scale that consists of increasing communication and interdependence. Now, terrorism is the unlawful use of force or violence against persons or property to intimidate or coerce a government or its citizens to further certain political or social objectives. Law enforcement generally recognizes two types of terrorism: domestic and international. Unipolar world. Unipolarity in international politics is a distribution of powers in which one state exercises most of the cultural, economic, and military influence. In unipolar systems, there is only one great power and no real competition. If a competitor emerges, the international system is no longer unipolar. Now, digital era. The digital era is characterized by technology which increases the speed and breadth of knowledge turnover within the economy and society. In time, within this version of the internet, software agents will exchange knowledge without human intervention. Now, I'm gonna answer some questions. Why did globalization emerge? Well, this because the communication and advance of the communication of all the countries have advanced, and there is a better communication between them that makes a lot of contribution in all technology and support of all countries between them. In most cases, what caused the terrorist attacks of the 20th century? Well, it's because a lot of countries just intervened in many Middle East wars. Well, because the terrorism is most frequently from those parts of the world. An example is the United States because they intervene in Afghanistan, Syria, a lot of places, and the people there was discontent with this, and many people were killed by Americans, and why they that's why they want to make fright in all their citizens. That's why they do that. How does the end of the Cold War relate to the unipolar world? Well, the disintegration of the Soviet Union makes the two United States won this war. So this caused the this country to be the most powerful country, and it stays as a unipolar world system because there is no real competition, and if it will be a competition, there will be no unipolar world anymore. And the last one, how has the digital era influenced today's society? Well, it influenced a lot in all the aspects, the social aspect of the people that use social media to communicate with all people around the world, and thus make like ideologies and thinkings about all the people in all countries, and that makes a better ampliance look of all the situation that is in this world. So there is a better opinion or criticisms for all the things that are happening in real time or happen in the last past decades. Thanks for watching.